Okay, here we go. So I'm going to do another little session here. It's been, I don't know, probably a goddamn month since I did the other one, but we're getting close to the point where we want to actually start this, and I want to finish what I was doing before we do. That means that today's idea is that we are going to, that I changed my mind about how I wanted to do those, the output files or I had them, I have them all using this one function. I realized that's a mistake because I want them to do different things. So I'm going to change what I'm doing here so that each output page in the ingestion file or the data file here, that right now it's making chapters and paragraphs and sentences all using the same function, and it should really be three different functions. I've also added a few more of these things in here that I know are going to be here. This is a little more like what these are going to look like in the end. We'll have an overall lexicon, chapters, paragraphs, and sentences, which are the different levels that we'll look at. People, which would be a list of both real people and, characters in the thing. Locations, same deal, real and fictional. Entities are organizations, I don't know, the school that they're going to or whatever, or a company, things like that. Events are events, things that happen. And time is like a timeline, like an actual calendar, calendar slash almanac system, which is, we'll get to that when we get to it. But right now, I'm just focusing on these because this is the raw, the place where the raw text is going to be most accessed. The sentences in particular will literally have like the entire text written out here, because just line by line by line, because that's the core level that we'll look at it as. Paragraphs won't show that, but it'll show summaries of them. Chapters, same thing. And we can get further down, which is technically the lexicon when we get down to that. But we'll deal with that later on. Right now, just worried about these levels. Um, yeah. So the other thing that I want to do is shut this off for now. The other thing I want to do is take care of this. Right now, it is taking 9 minutes. I just ran this as a test. It's taking 9 minutes to run the entire thing. And I don't want it to take that long. So I am going to, while I'm testing, so I'm going to make a baby version of it, basically for testing, that it'll read. So I'll say, so I'm just going to go in here, and here's my raw text, raw text.txt. So we can see this is 50,000 lines long. We got the chapters and all of that. So what we want to do is well, first of all, I'm just going to make a copy of it. Copy raw text.txt, raw text small.txt, raw text.small.txt. Okay, so there are three sections: the table of contents, the text, and the notes. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut this down from 65 chapters to, like, I don't know, 3 chapters, 4. We'll do 4. So I'm just going to literally pop the rest of those things out of there. And then we're going to have we'll find this one, and we'll go to the end of that, which is here. That's a short chapter. Yeah. Okay. And we'll just say that this is the end. So 1444 to 44085. There we go. And then these notes don't actually matter so much because I haven't really dealt with them from a ingestion standpoint yet. That's going to be a little weird because of the way that this is broken up, but I should be able to index it. Anyway, I'm going to just cut most of this out for now because it's reading this section, but it's really not doing anything with it. So I'll leave in the first few notes. Leave in the first 5. Okay, so now we're at 1,500 lines instead of 50,000. So this thing should run pretty fast. And we'll just go back into the old thing here and say, instead of that, we're going to do that. So now we're bringing in the other one instead. So let's see what it does. Oops. Let's see what it does time-wise now. Oh, yeah. Super fast. Okay, this is what I was hoping for. There's a substantial wait for each of these steps. Got 4 chapters, 250 paragraphs, 875 sentences, 15,000 words, and 83,000 glyphs. I'm calling them glyphs instead of characters because, well, it's the same thing as far as they're concerned, but we'll also have characters in the book, like characters. And I don't want to confuse characters of text with characters in the book, so I'm going to call the characters of text glyphs instead because that's what they are. And there's actually a few ways of thinking about even that. When we get into semiotics and shit, then that'll be something that we pay attention to. Oh, right. I wanted to change one other thing too. In the Excel tools. Yeah. Right now it's checking to see if it can write to the file by opening it, saving it, and closing it. But on a large-sized file, that actually takes a while. So instead, what I want to do is not that, but, well, I want to just try to rename the file, right? Like, so we'll say, is it OS? I think it's just OS rename. Is it OS rename? Yeah, OS rename from source to dest. Okay, so okay, so source is, oh, well, we just say that is book, and we'll call it temporary book, temp. Okay, so temp equals book plus XYZ. So it'll change it from ingest.xlsx to ingest.xlsxxyz, and then back. Yeah, see that? All right. So when we feed it the name of a book, It's going to check to see if it's a file. Yes, it is. We're going to check the right permissions for it. And we try to say that we want to rename it to this temporary name and then rename it back. And if we can do both of those things, we return true. If we can't, we return false. If it never was a file, then we would say true because it's not even there yet. Yeah. So, yeah, if we fail at this, we can't write to it. So let's test that out. Um, we'll say, see, we get down here. This is where we use it. When we're writing an output page or we're writing to the sheet, we want to check to see that we can write to it. There we go. Okay, so what happens when we run? Oops. Wait, where'd my... where my things went. I want you back being blue though. Colors, blue. Okay. All right. Black and blue. Okay. We want to say... Yeah. All right. Try to run it. It should work fine because I don't have the thing open. Yep, that worked. All right, if we can't write to it, then we're killing... I don't always want to do that. That's why I didn't put it in the function. But I kind of could. I'm going to do it like this. Green. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, oh, but kill program doesn't come from here. Nope, 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 nope. I'm just going to leave it like this. Got to do it for, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I can do 2 lines in every one of them. That's fine. Okay, so anyway, we need to open it up and then check it out. Now, see, now it's really tiny because there's only, right, like, you know, only showing the 4 chapters. 250 paragraphs. 875 sentences. And 3,000, only 3,600 words. Interesting. Well, we'll play with that some more. One of the next things to do, I may or may not try to do this today, is that in this lexicon sheet, we actually don't want it to show we actually want it to be based off of the root of the word rather than because see these, it's got a quote in front of it, right? Like that means, well, this is like the beginning of a sentence. It's all well and good, but that would be considered kind of more like a variation on the word. Like that's not the word help, that's the word quote help, right? So like there should be, uh, you know, uh, somewhere else is there's regular help, right? And somewhere else there's going to be lowercase help. Yeah, right. So if we were to do this, filter word help. There we go. So really, at the very least, this one and this one should be combined, right? I don't want to show things with a quote on the front. Uh, but really, this isn't any more of that than this is. So we could just have one thing that's help, and probably a second thing that's helping. And then there would be three variations of help, which would be these three. That's how I do it in the coding software I wrote. When I wrote when it's what it's trying to do is, um, well, we don't. It's easier to deal with the root of the word. It's easier to deal with the word instead of like and then knowing that there are multiple ways that that word is used inside the thing, than there is to try to do all of this. And because what happens is you introduce inconsistencies. You can there's when we want to do things differently with the different ones for these reasons, there will be other ways to do it. Like if I really care, about it being the first word in a sentence, for example, or the first word of a dialogue, then I can build in something during the compilation stage to count that. But when I look at this page, I only want to see one line. So that's a thing to do. Okay, so while I've got this open, we'll test this again. Oops. Well, and what we want to see is that when it gets to this point, it stops. Yep, perfect. Okay. So I'll just save this. We don't need to save this because we're writing over it anyway. Okay. All right, so now back into what I was really doing, which is that these things need to be different. So we have write output page level. And they were all feeding into this. And what happens is, like when I was doing this in the previous session, I kept getting to this point, right? We're doing it three different ways, three different times, and each time I'm doing this. That's doable if this is as big as it was going to be. Problem is that I want to put, like for the sentences, for example, I want to put all the sentences, and there's going to be different levels of sort of aggregation and you know different levels of stuff that's looked at, things that are looked at in paragraphs that are not looked at in chapters or sentences, etc. And in order to build just room for that and let those things grow as they need to, instead of it being a big pain in the ass where I have to like account for everything every time I do anything, it's in the end just going to be easier to break these out as level, or to break these out into the individual things. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say this, instead of write output page level, we're going to call this chapter and paragraph and sentence. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll leave this one here as kind of like the template, and first we'll just sort of recreate it, what we've got here, 3 different times, cutting it down each time until we've just got those, and then I'll go back in and start looking at like what needs to be different for each one. So 698 to 819. Okay, and we'll call this one page character. No, chapter. All right. So I won't need this back part because I know it's a chapter, paragraph, sentence. Right. So here we would just say chapter. Lexicon data for this particular level. Lex equals lex level, or, well, level, chapter. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, and then we would just do this. We don't need that. Don't need to put that in a separate variable anymore. All right. All right, I think that should work. That's the one that's now just chapters. So write output page level. All right, 698. Actually, let's do this first. Let's check this out. See, does that work? Mm-hmm. Wait, where did I take it out of? Oh, I took it out of there. Dumb. That's why you check as you go. Check every time you do something. It is worth the, 30 seconds or whatever this takes to run. That's why you cut it down to a manageable level. Jesus. Oh. Oh, I really fucked that up, didn't I? That's why. That's why. Because I did the wrong one. Really good that I changed then. Or checked. Right output page. Chapter. Alright. Level. Okay, 795 to 916. Put this up at the top. And then we'll also put another copy here. Right there. That's it. We'll put one and then two. So we've got two copies of this here. Now, right page level is going to be right page paragraph. And then the last one is going to be right page sentence. So we'll have chapter, paragraph, sentence. Right output page, chapter, paragraph, sentence. And then the one that is levels can just kind of go away. 699 to 819. All right. Whenever I'm extracting something, I'll always, shut it off first, comment it out, double check that I don't need it anymore, having done everything else, and then I will, I'll finally remove it. If it's something unique and I'm getting rid of it, I'll put it into a junk file. This is not unique, so I'll probably just delete this, but I won't until I've determined that what I've done has worked and that I don't need that anymore. So let's look at this. We'll say paragraph. Okay, so first of all, this does not need level. Running paragraph data to spreadsheet. And then we want this. And there. Okay. Okay. And then okay. So this is going to be sentence. And see here, I'm also removing the F. I'm no longer formatting anything in the string, so I may as well take it off. Get rid of those. Sentences. This is sentence. Boom. Take this down here. There. There. And then boom. Okay, now this should work. And this should take us back to exactly what we had, but with these different things. Yeah, that checking write permissions goes fast now. Uh-oh. Didn't take that off. There we go, easy peasy. Okay, so we can go ahead and get rid of this junk. All right, so what are we gonna do with these that we want, or what do we want to else put in them? Or like, I want to put the sentences in the sentence. I wonder if these should also, if the indexes should uniformly be +1, or do we want to start at 0 indexing? No, because we're always starting at, so PIDX. This is part of this up here. This is where it's doing the reading and the breaking apart in the first place. Parse raw text. Let's see. We're looking for lines. Chapter line 0. Let's see how this is. Is this where it's doing it? Yeah, that's where it's becoming 0. So we could say that this is +1. And I think that'll give us what we want. close this. When it's checking it like that in line, it's you have between the start of the thing and when you get down to here to actually close it, because it doesn't check it until then. Sometimes I make it check at the very, very beginning, but not usually. Okay, so now we can look in here and say, yes, paragraph indexes start at 1 instead of 0. Same as chapter index. Page is its own thing. Sentence IDX is going to have the same issue. And we'll say paragraphs into sentences, sent IDX, and this will be K plus 1. All right, this should be easy now. Perfect. There we go. That's what I want to see. This is the full index down to the sentence. 116 year of glad 11. So we want to, on this, we want to put the actual sentence. This paragraphs, we've got the paragraph index, and then we're going to call this number of sentences instead of sentence IDX. And we're already doing that for the chapters. Why do we not have that in paragraphs? That was pnum and snum. Just to make the variable naming a little more clear. All right, when we get to the paragraphs, we'll say that this is paragraph IDX, number of sentences. And then sentences is already correct. So what we need to do is fill in this thing. All right, so what is, where would we find that? That's the length of the number in the number of paragraphs and sentences. So we're looking at corpus text IDX paragraphs, which is, and just looking at the length, and those are the ways that we hold them. I'll just look at the first one, because where we're getting our data is this corpus text level paragraph. So if we need to put number of sentences in there, then shit. Wait, what? Do I really not have sys? I don't. Do I? Yeah, I do. What the hell? It's because of this. Yeah. So, the hell are you saying? Yes, it is. It's imported right there. Oh, it's because I got to recompile it. Let's see, how do I do that again? Oh, man. How did I do this? Yes. I do it like this. I wrote it down. What are you talking about? Okay, so how do I... as. Why? Well, shit. I'll deal with this later. I guess for now I'm just going to take this thing out. Let's put it here. Well, that was about I have this, the local library of functions that I've made, and it's got to be, I'm because of the way that I'm trying to import it and stuff, I'm using pip to do so. The Python installation, Python installation package, I think is what it is, and it's for installing libraries and stuff. And every time I make a change to my library, I've got to reinstall it, and that was the way that I was doing it, but I don't know why it's not working now. It doesn't matter for purposes of what I'm trying to do right here, though, because that was just a minor convenience. So anyway, what we want to do is go back up into the place where we're defining this stuff and actually write in the number of sentences of the paragraph as part of it, so we can say um, but at the paragraph level, I mean, this is literally just showing the text, index by text. Through each paragraph in the chapter. Break the paragraph into sentences. So we have this now. Now we have length of sentences here is what we would want. And I could just down in the other function, I could just like read the sentence and then, break it up into sentence, or read the paragraph, break it up into sentences and check the length then. But that's a compilation feature, not really a reporting feature. And I'm trying to keep the compilation here in this function and the reporting there in that function, and not have them, not have the reporting part do a bunch of shit. It should just be reading things that are already there. And the length of a list is fine, but I just, want to hold it is the thing. Because we've got text, note, text. So text is a chapter, parent them. Where are these things going? These are, okay, this is just all indexing. For the chapter, parent them. Wait a minute. Parent them. Let's go back up and see how we've constructed this, because there may be a better, I think there's a place where we can put this. Or rather, we're going to not put it in the actual text piece, but all right, so we've got talk, text, note, text level. You know what we need is not the text level, we need txt level. When we make this, okay, those are the text levels. I'm going to do like, let's see. Okay, yeah, these are literally just writing the text. These should really be text and not data. I'm going to go ahead and change it, because I separately want to have a data that is for stuff like what I'm about to do. Okay, that was good. All right, and we can say corpus data level. And we'll start with paragraph because we know that's what we need. Data paragraph. So we can actually Okay, so here at this level, we're going to say data paragraph. Okay, so all right, so we'll have we'll have a dictionary of data that where every index is the paragraph index, and we don't have to go through this whole hierarchy. We're just going to go straight to paragraph, data paragraph, paragraph index, which the paragraph index includes everything we need to get to that one. So we can say data paragraph, and that. All right, so we can say data paragraph para idx equals num sentences. Okay, so we go through, we notate all the text, then we annotate all the text, and then we start a new structure here, data paragraph. We put it in when we go through the paragraphs at the same time as we do the others. Then when we go through the sentences, we can write back into it because it already exists. And we can just add stuff to it. And when we need to add other things to it, we can. And so we'll do this data LVL paragraph equals data paragraph. And now, when we go back down to the place where we are writing out page paragraph, we can say snum equals let's see, textlev, lexlev, textlev, datlev equals corpus data LVL paragraph. Yeah, we can say, oh, that's where those goddamn things went. No fucking wonder. I had the goddamn cursor sitting over the X. That's why I lost my thing earlier. Blue. Blue. Okay. Okay. All right, so this should be that, and this should be let's see, data equals datlev idx data num sentences. This should be able to get back to it, to the structure that we made. So because data level exists in corpus with paragraph as the thing underneath it. Data LVL. So corpus data level. So corpus data level paragraph equals data paragraph, which is itself a dictionary, which contains a thing called num sentences. So we should be able to get this thing now. And we'll try this out. Okay, well, it at least didn't barf. Let's see if that actually worked. Sentences, sent-idx, paragraphs, number of sentences. There we go. And we should be able to look in here and see paragraph index 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 4 paragraphs in the first sentence, 1 paragraph in the second sentence, 3 in the third. 4, 1, 3. It works. Okay, now the only other thing that we want to do for this session is we want to put the actual sentence in here. And then I think I'm going to push pause on this for a little bit. I may come back and do some other crap later. But I definitely want to put the sentences in here because that's going to make this a lot easier to visualize kind of what we're doing. Okay, so let's go back to here now, write output page sentence. And this is all good, but we want to get the text txt equals, what is it going to be? It's going to be text lev. Oh, we already did it. I just didn't get it yet. All right, txt. See, it's right here. And later on, we'll get data equals, you know, we'll do the same thing we did for the sentences, but there's no sentence data right now, right? Like so, but we can put stuff in it later. So that is, yes, we're going to append text, and then we're going to have one more, and it's going to be 90. We'll do 100. Getter calls is now H. Okay. Run. My rule of thumb is that tests should be less than a minute, ideally less than 30 seconds. It's more than that, it starts to be annoying. But it depends on how complicated the thing gets, you know. As time goes on, even this one will be, you know, well, I don't know. We'll see. I may divide it into different programs eventually too, but I try to keep that as few, or keep as few programs as possible. It's a stylistic thing for me, you know. Okay, so let's see. Beauty. Okay. All right. We'll do this. We'll say, instead of 100, we'll say 160. And we can do that. Oops. By adding an empty space on here, it'll fool the thing into thinking that there is text or something in that gutter column, and it'll truncate the text so it doesn't bleed over into the other side. That's, you know, what I'd like it to do. The fix rows after should really do that. Ah, fix row height. Fix row height. after. Let's try that instead. The trick is if you tell it, you don't want it to wrap the column, right? Because what I really want is for all of the what I really want is for all the rows to be the same height, right? See how this did this. This is a lot easier to read now. That's yeah. I need to fix that too. Sentence IDX. No. There. Also, we'd want one more up here. There's a trick that my colleague figured out, though, that if you have it not unwrap text, you don't have to have anything of it. Because look at this right here, right now. See, there is an empty space in there. If I were to remove that space, then that goes away. These things are only being truncated because of the space that I added in there. But what if I don't want to have that there? If you literally affix the row height like this, and you were to say what it was, then it does the truncation, or sorry, you wrap text, but you fix the row height, and then it won't do that. It would literally like wrap the thing, but it won't make the column wider. That's the deal. We want wrap calls. Okay, so wrap calls, and we're looking for just the letter. And we'll say this is G. We're going to wrap calls G and fix row height after 3 without appending the space, and see if that does it. I spent a long time. This is a, you know, not a trivial problem, right? Oh yeah. Of like how to format these things, right? I mean, for professionally, we got to look at lots of these things, right? And they need to be easy to deal with. They need to be readable. They need to be very clear about what's going on. You need to be able to see a lot at once, and they've got to be usable. They've got to be usable by humans. It's not just data storage. It's like these are actual maps that that have a fair amount of feedback in them. And so the how do you make long things fit inside the spreadsheet is a real actual problem, and we've tried a bunch of different solutions. I got into a strong habit for a while of using shrink to fit, which my colleague absolutely hated, and she bitched about it for a long time, and I just kind of shrugged my shoulders because I didn't know what to do. And then she figured this thing out, and I have to say she like that was this is I haven't looked back since, right? Because look at this, right? There's nothing in here. There's no that. This is actually like if we were to double click on that there, see? Now we get it wrapped. So now the question is, how wide do we actually want it? Because I want to be able to see stuff over here too. This, could be smaller, but then there's going to be some really long ones. I mean, it's that way for a reason. So I'm going to shorten this just a bit. We'll say this is 130. And there we go. It's a little better. This whole thing over here, half the thing being taken up by an index, is not the ideal. Chapter title. I'm going to cut this. L2 wrap calls D and G. So it'll pull the same trick over here. We won't be able to see it on these, but you know, seeing over here and over here, I kind of do want to see the whole thing because there's that, like, because that is, well, I mean, at chapter level, it is the whole thing. There's not going to be any text. So we'll see. But for the time being, I think this is good. This is what I wanted. And I'm happy with this. I'm going to go ahead and call this done for the time being. I can, yeah, this will be a good start. This is something I can actually hand to the others and they'd be able to do something with. So that's where I wanted to get before we started. So, you know, next one I may do a little bit more of this, or the next one may actually be all of us, or the actual, what we might think of as the actual start. In the meantime, that's it for now.